And I was actually taken aback by it when I was at a game and heard some of the words that Coach Calhoun said. But moving on, in the blog, you seem to be taking some heat from comments I've received saying that it was inappropriate for you to ask this at a press conference after a basketball game. And then Rick, a familiar face here at Fox 61, he actually had this to say. He took issue with the fact that you slammed other reporters in the room. He said, I think Krayeske owes the reporters who were in that room an apology. If he wants to ask Calhoun a question, fine, but to disparage the beat reporters who cover the team was unprofessional, and he crossed the line. He also said that when the heat was on, you kind of folded, whereas a seasoned journalist would have kind of reiterated the question differently. And you did say, yeah, I'm stupid. My advice to you as a reporter, you never admit that, number one. But what would you say to what Rick said? I mean,
my mom said the same thing. Why did you say you're stupid? Well, because if I sit there and say, no, I'm not dumb, then we're in 7th grade. I just want to get past that point. Where I'm not in 7th grade. I'm an adult. I'm a professional. You don't speak to me like that.
Well, you just say, excuse me, Coach Calhoun, but that is not how I spoke to you. But, no, it's a fine dance. It's tough. I deal with these politicians all the time. It's tough.
I've foiled with Coach Calhoun before. And
were you disparaging the reporters in that room? Because you had said nobody else would ask it. But it's, as sports reporters, if they ask that question, they're cut off forever.
And that's the problem. Why do we let Coach Calhoun behave like this? In 1998, I was writing for the Hartford Advocate, and I covered UConn basketball in their march to the national championship. And I wrote a story, actually, that talked about Coach Calhoun cussing on the sidelines. You could hear him from across the arena on a quiet moment, and he says, bomb, he drops an F-bomb or something.
Oh, I've heard that, too, and I was
so
floored.
I wrote a column about that, and they cut access off. And it's like, okay, how come? And so the beat reporters, for the last decade, if not longer, have been enabling him, should we say, because they understand, well, if I challenge him, I'm going to get beat up. And it's like, wait a second, why do we do this? Why can't you ask a difficult question? Why? I'm not asking about the price of tea in China.
You can ask a difficult question, but as a sports reporter, perhaps it wasn't necessarily in their line of duty. I don't know. I mean, you know what? Maybe I should have gone to one of these press conferences and asked a question. I don't have a whole lot of access to Jim Calhoun. I've talked with him at the Capitol. If I ran into him, I would have asked him what you asked him. So, absolutely.
And the thing is, everybody said, well, wrong place. So, well, there is no other place because Calhoun wouldn't answer it. And as to the reporters, I'm fine with calling them out. I've been called out. Look, I've been called out every day this week. How
hard has it been on you?
Well, it's been kind of difficult because I don't like when people bring up the stuff about Governor Rell. I mean, I didn't...
Explain, what happened there is you were taking pictures of Governor Rell, you were on your bicycle or something, and they arrested you because they thought you were a threat?
I was a person of interest. And the thing is, a person of interest who got arrested and thrown in jail on $75,000 bond, and it was reduced to a promise to...
What were you charged with?
I was charged with breach of peace and interfering with an officer, but they were trumped-up charges. They were dismissed, and I filed a federal civil rights lawsuit. Norman A. Pattis of Bethany is my attorney, and we're progressing steadily through discovery. But the thing is, it was scurrilous, and it's been difficult to watch people bring up that arrest and say, oh, he's a provocateur, he had no business being in there, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, the version of that out there is different than the version of what really happened.
Well, you were trying to take a picture on the street, no?